Welcome to Quarantine Conversations, Episode 6. I'm Samantha Lane, and today's guest is my very own personal mentor coach, Pam Thomas. Pam has been incredibly supportive and helpful for me, both personally and professionally over the years, and she's just a joy to be around. She has a technique about quieting your inner critic that I can't wait for you to hear. Please enjoy. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Pam. This is such a treat today.
Oh, Sam, it is such a pleasure. I am so excited to be here. Are you kidding?
So our listeners probably don't know, but even though I've known you now for a little over 3 years, actually more than that. Yes, I was thinking about this. I'll get to the 3 years in a second, but we first met when I was doing my practicum in fall of 15 or maybe early 2016, because I remember you were one of my instructors. And I was like, man, every time I talk to her, it's just like a warm hug. And I want more of that.
Bless you. Bless you. You're so sweet.
Yeah. Well, it's true. It's so true. And so then I remember, for our listeners to know, Pam is my personal mentor coach and life coach. And so we've been working for, I think it's 3 years, 3 times a month. So if my mental math is right, like some 100 sessions probably.
Oh, somewhere around that. Oh my God, has it been that long? Wow, it seems like a blink of an eye. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I know. And it's just, it's such a joy for me, and I so appreciate your support. But I would love for you to just kind of lay the foundation for people around maybe a little bit of how you got into coaching, your space of coaching. You know, there's different types of coaches out there. So anything you'd like to share?
Wow. Well, I got involved in coaching in a kind of a circular way. I was doing some project management work. I was, prior to coaching, I owned an internet production company where we were doing online websites. And this was in the boom of when coaching was first hitting, this kind of the Wild West days of coaching, actually. And was working with many coaches, and they kept saying to me, Pam, why aren't you coaching? And my standard response was, because I'm working on my master's in industrial organizational psychology. Say that 10 times fast, I dare you. And it didn't occur to me, this coaching thing, it didn't occur to me at all until people kept saying, this is what you do. And I thought, okay, I'll check it out. And so I'm glad I did, because actually it is what I've been doing a good majority of my life. I just didn't know there was a name for it. And so
Gotcha.
2004-ish, I entered into training, put my stake in the ground and said, yes, this is my thing. And I've been doing it ever since. And I love it. And my whole thing has always been about mindset.
Yep. That is the catalyst to so many things. That's what we've worked on. And I'm sure, so many of your other clients, when we have clear thinking and a mindset that is healthy, then look what flows from that.
So much.
Right.
So much. Oh yeah. And it's interesting because I've been on this path since I was about 8 years old, believe it or not.
Do you want to say more about that?
Well, sure. My dad, when I was 8, gave me a book called TA for Tots. Can't believe it. And it piqued my curiosity, because I always wondered, why was I having negative thoughts? I thought there was something really wrong with me, that I couldn't quite get a handle of the negative thoughts and make them go away. And, throughout the course of my life and doing the work that I do, and not just my own personal work, but working with my own clients, I recognized, and all the stuff that I read, I have about 12 books on the go right now. I realized there was never anything wrong with me, that we're predisposed to having negative thoughts. If anybody has ever read anything from Dr. Rick Hanson, he wrote the book, Buddha's Brain and Resilience. Okay. He talks about negative bias. It's that brain wiring that our prehistoric ancestors had to keep them on high alert. So I thought, oh, wow. Okay, cool. There's nothing wrong with me. That's awesome. I can live with that. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Really super helpful to take that universal approach, because it can only layer on more, and we can go down into the pit more when we think like, this is my problem, that I can't just wish myself out of this or work myself out of this. Yeah. It reminds me of when I was thinking of moving to Kansas City, after being in Minnesota for so many years, and just the plethora of negative thoughts of I'm not smart enough to start a business, and so I'd love for you to speak on that a little bit, because so I've been a coach for 4 years now. You've been a coach for at least 15, right? And so, the amount of people you've served and the depth of the people you've served, can you share with us what maybe some common things you found that people struggle with, and the ways that coaching helps unlock and support that?
Oh, sure. Well, we all have an inner critic, and that inner critic comes out when we're, trying to do something really cool and different or extraordinary. And it comes out and it says, who are you to do things like that? Yeah, you're an imposter. Are you kidding? Oh my God, you couldn't talk your way out of a paper bag. What makes you think you could coach somebody else? All sorts of negative things that go on in our brains. And really, in all honesty, it's our ego talking, and it's there. It serves a purpose. It serves a purpose to protect us. But one of the things that I have found over the years that I've been doing the work that I've been doing is it's really there to tell you that what you're about to embark upon is really important. And so don't give in to the imposter syndrome, the not good enough, the, oh my God, who am I to possibly be this big person to put myself out there? Stay small, stay an imposter, stay feeling less than, because if you are, you're going to be safe. If you stay there, you're going to be safe. And that's a lie. That's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And so it's there to serve a purpose. And if we can leverage our inner critic to work for us as opposed to against us. And
gotcha. So first step is understanding that, hey, I maybe don't need to listen to what's being said, but I need to listen that something's being said, because that's
sure.
cluing me in that this is important.
Absolutely.
And so from there, what's next? Where do we take it?
Well, I think it's really important, Sam. If you think about every experience you have ever had, that experience creates a thought or a belief. It creates a pattern. That's where that inner critic comes from, which creates a feeling. Okay, we have an amazing resource inside of us, and that's our emotions. And so it's the words that we say to ourselves, the inner critic that speaks creates a feeling. And that feeling either drives us to do something or stops us dead in our tracks. And so if you tune in, let's say, for example, you're feeling less than, and that thought is, well, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. Tune into the feelings. Are you feeling small? Where are you feeling small? What's going on? It's not necessary to maybe analyze why that feeling is there, because we don't want to stay trapped in it. We just want to recognize, okay, I'm feeling this way. That's my trigger. I don't want to feel small. I don't want to feel less than. So how do I want to feel instead? And creating that opposite effect. And then thinking about, well, what could I be doing right now that would help me to feel better, whatever feeling it is we want to feel. And that's what helps us to stay out of the grasp of our inner critic, is really switching the feeling.
Yeah. And how empowering is that? Like what you just described, the choice in that and the honoring.
Yes.
And that's definitely something I've experienced in our coaching partnership, is when I come with something tough, to be able to honor whatever the feeling is, even if it seems super dramatic or outlandish or whatever, that's the reality for me right there. So to honor where you're at, and then to keep moving forward to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think the worst thing we do to ourselves is admonish ourselves for having the feeling and then try to stuff them or force them away, instead of, like you just said, instead of honoring them and recognizing, okay, I'm having a bad day and I'm feeling a certain way. That forcing, that trying to admonish ourselves and make us feel bad for having those feelings, the inner critic loves that. That's like fuel to that fire. So honor it, feel it, and recognize, okay, I'm being triggered and I don't want to feel this way for very long. And so how do I want to feel instead?
Yeah.
And you mentioned choice. Choice is amazing. Choice gives us personal power. And we get to choose how we feel at every given second of every given day.
Yep. Spoken well from a woman who clearly has stepped into that choice and practiced choice. So many of us find a profession, where it finds us. But I know that these things you've worked on, on your own and in your own life, and partly maybe because you shared tidbits here and there, but I know it because it's impossible to hold space for others in the way that you do unless you've worked on it,
Yes.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that and how your own experience with coaching, through coaching and being a coach has blossomed.
Oh my goodness. Well, when I went into coach training, I thought I was going in to learn how to coach, how to be more effective in my coaching. And what was interesting, I didn't anticipate that it was going to open Pandora's box to my personal growth and self-improvement. And as a result, I learned a lot of things about me, and I saw some things about me that really needed to change. And I'm a stickler for my own self-development and self-improvement and self-awareness. I can't do what I do, and I can't ask you as a client to do anything if I'm not willing to do the stuff myself. And so I am really vigilant about my own self-development. And I will tell you, I think, not to sound dramatic, but coaching really has saved my life in many respects. I came from a very codependent background, and that codependency and that people pleasing was literally eating me alive to the point where I was on the verge of becoming an alcoholic. Yeah. And as a result of coaching, I started to really take a look at some of that behavior and change some of that behavior and rewrite some of the crappy stories that I'd been carrying since, I don't know, God knows when.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stories that maybe people had told you, but probably just the ones that you decided to hold on to. I mean, I have those stories for myself too.
And the ones that I decided to add to, not just adopt, but add to. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I imagine that some people listening to this, hearing what you just shared, and I thank you for sharing that around the codependency, people still have questions about where does coaching fit maybe in the different professions. Especially where's the overlap and where's the distinction with therapy. So I don't know if you have any thoughts, like how you tend to answer that question around coaching, distinction to therapy, or just any personal stories around that.
Well, we all bring stuff from our past to the table. And what therapy is really great about doing is healing past wounds. With coaching, it's not that we're negating that you're coming to the table without a past. We're not. But what we are looking at is where you are right now and where it is that you want to go. And we're helping you to not only identify the gap between where you are to where you want to go, but helping you to take steps to get you moving forward, as opposed to looking over past and seeing, okay, well, mom said this and that created that, and I need to heal that. That's great. And we want you to heal. But what we really want to do with coaching is help you to move forward and create that momentum.
Yeah, I found that in clients I've worked with, if they've gone to therapy first, or even if they're going to therapy along with coaching, that can be super complementary to have that healing, to have that awareness on what that wound or that struggle was.
Absolutely.
And then there's a different sort of timing that's appropriate to say, okay, and I'm ready to move forward.
Absolutely.
And too, that coaching has a plethora of healing properties as well. I mean, changing that inner critic, like we were just talking about, rewriting stories that are healthy for you is incredibly healing.
Tons. And it is. It's very, very healing. And to your point, I've had clients over the years who've been in therapy and working with me as a coach alongside, and it's been a very powerful combination. And I'm a proponent of getting the support and assistance that you need to help you to feel better, to help you to show up in the way that you want to show up, and to heal some of the heavy duty stuff that you may be carrying around from whatever's gone on in your life. Absolutely. But yes, coaching can be extremely therapeutic and extremely healing, I should say.
But do you find that with mindset coaching, people might come to you for like a specific need, a specific criticism or limiting belief that they're trying to get around, or is it maybe more of a partnership like ours where there's the longevity and we're uncovering things, as they come up and uncovering things. Just kind of curious, maybe the life cycle of clients or if there are any trends.
Yeah, a good majority of my clients have been with me for quite a while, similar to you, because there's always something that they're wanting to work on to continue to advance themselves in their lives personally and professionally. I have clients in my books that are there for a short time because they're maybe working on a particular goal, and their inner critic is really standing firmly in the middle and preventing them from taking the next steps. And so we're working to help them to take the next steps to complete that goal, take it from paper to reality. So I think it varies depending on the person, but I would say the crux of my coaching practice over the last 15 years been people who've been working with me for, long-term goals and,
They're ready to do that deep work.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you find, so when you started out, was the mindset coach a thing, or has that kind of evolved as where you settled into?
Yeah, it's kind of evolved as I've evolved.
Yeah.
I started out, when I first started coaching, I started out as a transition coach because I was going through transitions.
Yeah.
I was going through a transition after being divorced and being a single mom and all sorts of different things. And so that felt very pertinent in my world. But as I've evolved and as my practice has evolved and as I've grown as a coach, I started to see a trend, not just with my own personal work, but with the topics that my clients were bringing to the table. And it all centered around the inner critic and mindset. And I started to develop a real passion for helping people rewrite those crappy stories and helping people to really mute that inner critic so that they could do those extraordinary things that they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
And now as a mindset coach, maybe share a little bit, if you would, around, there's business coaches, there's executive coaches, there's life coaches, there's transformation coaches, there's retirement coaches, and there's maybe some overlap in between all of those too. But I think what people are probably most familiar with, or at least has gained a lot of traction and just, common conversation, are the business and executive coaches. So even if you want to offer a distinction for people around how that even might differ from, what your niche is.
Well, it's interesting, and that's a great question, Sam. I think of it as something that one of my former colleagues and mentor of mine once said, coaching is coaching is coaching. And what she was talking about was, when you're coaching somebody, whether they're an executive, a leader of an organization, an entrepreneur, a coach, or a stay-at-home mom, you're still coaching the whole person, regardless of what they're bringing to the table. So yes, I coach executives. Yes, I coach entrepreneurs. Yes, I coach other coaches. And yes, I coach people who are in different professions. But at the end of the day, they're all coming to me for one purpose, and that is to help them mute that inner critic so that they can be more effective leaders in their executive roles, so that maybe they can take their business as an entrepreneur to the next level. Or just manage the day-to-day of overwhelm that maybe they're dealing with as a result of being a stay-at-home mom. Right. So, to that point, I think while we all specialize in different things, we're still coaching people.
Yeah. And the whole person. I love how you said that. That's great. Because I do find that there's some coaches out there that might blend the realm a little bit more into consulting, who might not want to coach the whole person. Because they want to help coach sales. They want to, help coach management styles or different things like that. And so, those have a place and a need too, and some really respectable people in those spaces. But that makes a lot of sense for where you're at. It doesn't matter the title of person coming to you. You're going to coach the whole person. Absolutely. And that's going to get in here pretty quickly, and that inner critic and such.
Yeah, you betcha.
I know that you've got tools that you've worked on, that you've developed because you've seen this so much with your clients and with yourself. Do you want to share a little bit that if people wanted to learn more, if they're thinking to themselves, man, yeah, my inner critic is talking right now. Maybe they're interested in coaching, maybe not, but are there some tools or resources you could send their way?
Oh, sure. Well, I have a boatload of freebies on my website because I really love giving away things that are going to be of help and service. But almost a year ago, I developed a program called the Life Technique, and it actually is an acronym, but I developed it because I wanted to figure out a way to mute the inner critic faster, to get rid of the negative thoughts when, for example, I'm sitting down and I'm, trying to write, I'm in the process of writing a book, and my inner critic comes out really, really loud. And
it's important to you.
Because it's important to me. And she's making it real difficult to write that book. And so I wanted to come up with a really simple way to mute her. And so I came up with the Life Technique, and it's a ridiculously simple 4-step process for muting the inner critic.
You want to go through it now? Would it be, can we talk through them now? Or just share? Okay.
Yeah, sure. The acronym stands for loop, because those thoughts that play on a loop, they're there and they become a habit because they're playing on a loop. And so that's the first step. We identify the ones that are playing on a loop. The I stands for identify, which means we're identifying the triggers. So, we were talking about the feeling of less than. There are certain things we do physiologically when those thoughts are playing on a loop, and we want to be able to tap into that feeling so that oh gosh, I'm feeling small right now. My chest is starting to get really tight. Okay, that's my trigger. I got to, that story's playing on a loop. Okay, fantastic. I know it's playing. The F stands for feeling. So if I don't want to feel small, if I don't want to feel the tightness in my chest, how do I want to feel? And we identify those feelings that we want to feel. And then the E stands for experiment. What am I willing to experiment with in the moment that's going to help me to feel that way that I want to feel, as opposed to feeling small or tight in the chest?
Yeah. Yeah. As you were saying that, I was thinking through one of my stories that has been common for myself. And I kind of want to share it because I feel like it might exemplify how this can be really small stuff, and it can work for the big, heavier things too. But the story that I've often told myself is that I'm not a good storyteller. I come from this family of storytellers. My dad and my brother and my grandparents and my siblings all are just great. And my mom even too. I didn't mean to leave her out. They're all just great at, kind of commanding the attention of the room and, making people laugh. And I grew up as the middle child, feeling kind of skipped over in that. And so as an adult then, when I became, more in the professional world and with clients, that was playing through my head. I'm not a good storyteller. And so how easy to first recognize that loop, then identify, then change the feeling. Am I correct there?
Yep.
And experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the whole purpose, because that's playing on a loop, it's created a neural pathway in your brain. So that every time you're in the situation where you might have an opportunity to tell a story, that's automatically triggering.
And I already believed it. So I didn't even try to tell a story.
Exactly. And so what we're doing with this technique is creating a new neural pathway so that when you're in situations where you have an opportunity to storytell, you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, great. Let me go. I'm good. I'm ready. Or whatever the case may be.
One of the things I did, and I think we probably even worked on this maybe like 2 years ago, is that I wasn't quite ready to jump to, you're a great storyteller, Sam. Like I couldn't quite replace that, with I'm not a good storyteller, but I could replace it with I'm beginning to tell more stories, or I'm trying out storytelling, or I'm starting to get better at story. There was something that could at least make it not a hard stop and a shutdown.
Right. And I have nothing, please, those of you out there that are listening to this, if you love affirmations, God bless you. Keep doing them. I have a hard time with affirmations. I always have. And it's because they felt like a lie. So that I'm in the process, I'm starting to, that kind of thing, I could believe that. But when I use the life technique, it has nothing to do with affirmations whatsoever. It has everything to do with, okay, let me experiment with activities that are going to help me to feel different. Because affirmations for me, again, they didn't make me feel better. They made me feel like I was fraudulent because I couldn't quite believe, oh yeah, I'm a millionaire.
Right. Sometimes they can be really absolute, like I'm always loving. Well, am I,
Exactly. So I wanted to come up with something that was going to be a little different, that took those statements out of the mix, because affirmations don't work for everybody. They really don't. They work for some people, and that's fantastic. And if they work for you, thumbs up. But they don't always work for everybody.
Well, in your technique, giving people this framework that you can do mentally. I could experiment with my thoughts around how I was talking to myself with my storytelling, but I could also experiment, with my actions and think, okay, so the next time I'm at a family gathering, I could just try telling a story. Like that's something I could experiment with, right? And so I just love being able to highlight that there's a framework, and I imagine you've been using this framework on me, whether we knew it was, called the life technique or not. And it's been working, because I've been able to squell quite a few inner critics. I mean, as a business owner, the inner critics that can come out with trying new things, whether it's with marketing or with clients or with whatever. But to highlight that it can be something that small, like, and seemingly silly as storytelling, but that was a tape that was looping that wasn't helpful for my life, right? It was holding me back. It was keeping me small. But it can also be for some of those really big things. Maybe, somebody thinking that they're never gonna be healthy or lose that weight or find that loving partner, or these big things that can really hold us back in life.
Oh, absolutely. And really, in all honesty, those things, again, are there to point out that that's important to you. And they don't have to be something that stands in the way. And it's interesting to me in all the years that I've been doing this work, our brain is amazing. It truly is. The one thing I've learned about our brains, can't think positive and negative at the same time. It's not capable of doing that. And it does serve as our yes person. So anything we feed it, it's going to go, okay, yeah, that's fact, because you're giving it to me. I believe that. And I'm going to go and look for evidence to prove that what you just said to me is true. And it's that feeling that's the evidence. If we're feeling it, it's like, okay, it must be true because I'm feeling that it's true. And so, what we're doing is really retraining our brains and utilizing our brains in a different and better way.
And ask those awareness questions. It just strikes me how important that practice of curiosity can be, to ask ourselves, is that true? Is that really true? Is that helpful? Is that serving me? With a true, honest curiosity.
Yeah. I will often sit and ask my inner critic, okay, so what are you trying to tell me? What is it you're really trying to say to me? And that does help. That does help. I'm a big proponent.
And that's why I hire you, because I still need help doing that.
I got your back, girl. I got your back. No worries.
No worries. I so appreciate it. Well, did I say at the beginning that this is such a treat to see you? Because even though we've had all these sessions and I've known you for 3+ years, we do them all via phone, which is such a great fit. And so to be able to see your smile and just, have a different kind of interaction with this Zoom call is so fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. I am thoroughly enjoying it. Thank you.
Well, I will make sure that people have, access to your website and can get that life technique if they want and your other freebies. But before we wrap up, I'm kind of curious, we're shooting this in Kansas, at least now the shelter at home has been lifted and there's different phases. And for you in Arizona, not exactly similar down there.
Yeah, we're the shelter's been lifted. Shelter in place has been lifted, and people, it's like spring break out here.
Oh, wow. Well, but
crazy.
So obviously our worlds have still been rocked by COVID, and there's, changes in place and everybody's still adapting. So I'm just curious for you, if you want to share something first that has been challenging for you in this time.
Oh, trying to keep sane and not go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Because even though I have been working from home for I don't know how many years, even before coaching,
Yeah.
there's a different element to it when you know you can't go in certain places. When you can't go to the coffee shop and sit there and just get a change of scenery. And so, that's been the biggest challenge is keeping my mental edge, so to speak, where I'm staying kind and staying loving and not getting so edgy. That's been been a challenge.
Gotcha. Do you follow Glennon Doyle by chance?
I do. I do.
So I know her book Untamed, everybody's talking about it. I haven't read it yet, but when you said edgy, it just reminded me how she talks about getting pretty chippy in here, like with her family when we've been in the same room too much. We've been like, things are getting a little chippy, and apparently that's what soccer. Anyways,
yes,
check out Glennon Doyle, people, if you want to, on Instagram. She's super fun to follow and really honest and brave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So on the flip side of that, have there been any pleasant surprises or something that you're really enjoying about this time?
Oh my God, yes. I have reconnected with some people that I lost touch with, which has been amazing. We've gotten on Zoom calls. I haven't seen my high school classmates. I went to school at Barstow, in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm from Kansas, Kansas girl. And I hadn't seen them in 35 years. And one of my classmates was putting together kind of a Zoom, let's reconnect. And it was so much fun. And my best friend from Kansas City, she came out of the woodwork. It's been amazing. It's been amazing to reconnect with people that I haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah, such a treat. It's funny how a pandemic spurs that on, but what a treat.
Back to basics. Back to basics.
Yeah. To go back to those people that clearly you had a connection with. They wouldn't come out of the woodwork if there wasn't a connection there to rekindle. So
Absolutely.
How cool. Well, any final thoughts for us today then?
Oh, just thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the amazing work. Your podcasts have been phenomenal and fun. And what a great service. So keep doing it, girl. And it was lovely to see your beaming smile. So yeah.
Thank you. Oh yeah. Well, I wouldn't be here with you without you. That is definitely true. And so appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
My pleasure, honey. My pleasure. Always. Always, always.
Right. Many people can relate to feeling stuck when you're navigating a huge life change. It can be so discouraging when you're unsure about what next step to take. I'm Samantha Lane, a certified life coach, and I partner one-on-one with men and women to create clearer thinking and more purposeful action. I happen to specialize in those who are anticipating retirement, as that's a transition that's going to impact all areas of your life. If that's you, or if you know someone who's navigating a big life change, I hope you'll sign up for a free strategy session at lumina-coaching.com. Thanks for watching Quarantine Conversations. I hope you enjoyed.